Creating with Alcohol Ink by Jeane Swemba.
Hi, I'm Jeane Swemba. I'm going to show you how I create my canvas alcohol inks using primarily snow cap, but it depends on the color of the canvas. The first thing I do is use a pre-stretched canvas. This is a 16 by 20. I don't like to work smaller than that. Next, I spray paint my canvas with a color, Rust-Oleum Satin. This is called Slate Blue. I like to use this color a lot. Next, let me show you my materials. This is canned air. This moves my inks very well. This is my airbrush. I have it set at the pressure of 40. This also moves my inks very well. And this is a squeegee that I can use if I want to get a small area, but it doesn't move my ink very far. So when I'm using a large canvas, I usually use the canned air or the airbrush. All right, let's see some of the other things I use. This is something I use when I'm doing my centers, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. I also am using Snow Cap, which is by Ranger. It's a mixative. It's thicker than a regular ink, and it really looks nice on a dark canvas. My other inks are Ranger alcohol inks in different colors, and I use 91% isopropyl alcohol. I find that 91 works best, 99 is okay, but 70 doesn't move my ink enough. All right, let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is look at my canvas. I like to do 3 blooms or an uneven set of blooms. So I think I'm going to put my first flower in the upper left-hand corner. I'm going to take a little drop of my snow cap. This will be my first petal. Then I'm going to put a drop of alcohol up at the top. And then I'm going to move it. This time I'm going to use my canned air. I'm going to blow it out a little bit to make a nice petal. Next, I'll do another petal next to that. I do the center of my flowers last because I like to see the shape of my flower before I do that. Another drop of alcohol and more canned air. So you can see how leafy my flowers are starting to look. I'll layer those petals, but you have to be careful with your canned air. You don't want to turn it that way. It will freeze up on you. Keep it sort of at an angle like this. So the next thing I would do would be another petal. There's my ink. A little more alcohol. And another petal for my flower. Now I'm going to continue this right around in a circle, usually 4, maybe 5 petals. And then I'll look at my flower and decide if I want to layer more petals.
Stop.
might want to add a little more right there. Flower. So I like to do the center of my flowers after I have my petals, and what I'm going to do is create a center there. The first thing I'm going to do is take pitch black and drop a little in my palette. Then I'm going to take my dental pick that I got from Amazon and drop a little bit of that in the center of my flower. And I use my pick sort of like a toothpick, and I just go around the center. And I spend a lot of time on my centers because I want them to look unique. Sometimes I'll add colors, but I usually decide where the sunlight is hitting my flowers, and then I put that lighter, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So right now I'm just doing my center. Then I'm going to add a little bit of my snow cat and a fresh pick. And let's say the sun's coming from this direction. I want my centers to have a little bit of lighter color at the top there. And I just keep going around and around to make it look almost three-dimensional. Now sometimes I add color to the center to make it even more interesting, but for right now I'm just doing the black and the white. And the white kind of fades into the black, so don't be afraid to use it liberally. Now I've got a pretty nice looking little center there for my flower. And I can continue adding black, white, or even maybe some pink or another color if I'd like. Next I'm going to create a few leaves and stems on this, and I've ruined many a beautiful flower because of my leaves and stems, so be careful. I have moss green. I'm going to put that in my palette. I have citrus. I'm going to add a little of that on top of the moss. And then I'm going to add a little, this is Everglades, a little bit darker. Now again, I'm going to use my tool and I'm going to just put a line where I decide I want my stem to be. And it seems to be my stem should be coming like this. And I don't want to make it too big, and I'm not even blowing it, but I might also add, this is gold. I like to put gold in my leaves because it gives them a lot of shimmer. So what I'm going to do next is create a leaf going out this way. I'm going to add a little gold. The gold kind of takes over, so you have to be a little careful. And then I'm going to very, very gently put, notice I haven't put any alcohol on this. I'm just going to blow it a little bit. make that larger, I'll drop a little alcohol, maybe a little more green, and a little more air. All right, I think I'm going to put a leaf going up this way as well. So I'm taking my greens and kind of making a leaf shape, coloring it in a little bit. And then I'm going to add some gold. And then I'll add a little alcohol this time first. Some canned air. I'm sort of directing my leaf shape with my canned air. You can see how I'm kind of moving it around. Green over here. That looks pretty good. I'm also going to add a little bit of gold to the center of my flower to give it some extra snap. I think it's prettier. And again, I'm using my dental pick. So there's my flower. So let me show you some of my work that I finished before this one. This was done on black canvas. Obviously, I've added a lot of color, but I'm still using snow cap because if you don't use snow cap on a dark canvas, the inks won't show up. Also, look at my center. I popped out some little white stamens on there to make it look a little more fun. And I have a lot of gold in my leaves. Another one I did on gray. This one I added a little bit of pink ink to my white and sprayed it. Just a little, very tiny amount to give my flowers a little bit of color. And the centers, I haven't used any black. I used a couple different shades of brown, pink, and white. This is another one that I did. Look at my centers on that one. And I added some different colors to my leaves. But remember how I said I'd like to do 3 flowers, at least an odd number. That's my sort of signature. And because this one's kind of off to the side, you don't really see much of the center. And finally, the last one is a lot more like the one I just did. But the difference in this is I actually added a little bit of gold to my white to give it sort of a gold shimmer, and really played with the way the stems are going, and also how the light is shining on the centers. So there's 3 different ways you can do this. You can add color, you can change the centers, but that's how I make my canvases. And I've made larger ones too. So good luck.